If any of us are feeling or have felt in the past, even recent past, that we are kind of bruised and battered in life, or maybe that we're feeling kind of imprisoned or trapped in the circumstances of our lives, or if we felt or are feeling kind of blind as to what to do about struggles in our lives, we don't know, we're kind of confused, then the Feast of the Baptism of the Lord is a good one for us. I say that because it's bad enough to feel, to experience the struggles and the hurts of life without thinking that God is somehow complicit with it all. That God somehow says, yeah, I need to teach you a lesson. Or, yeah, I think you ought to suffer this. If we think that, it makes everything worse. We don't need to think that. Who needs a God like that? Or not only, if not complicit with it, to think that God is kind of standing afar off and watching. When you get your life together, then come and talk to me. But come on, let's get with it. Let's get your life together. Okay? He's kind of waiting for us. And if we think that, it makes things all the worse and the burden all the heavier. But you see, on the baptism of the Lord, it's a good feast for anyone who is feeling or has felt that, to realize that that's not what God is about. Because we heard in that first reading, he says, "Behold my servant whom I send. He shall bring forth justice," not crying out, not shouting. There's enough shouting going on, isn't there? I don't know about your individual lives. Maybe you have that too. It's, come on, can't we talk? But you just turn on the TV or the radio and there's enough shouting going on. Without shouting, without crying out. And a bruised reed he shall not break. For he's not out to break the bruised. Sometimes that's us. And a smoldering wick he shall not quench. Sometimes our spirits feel like they're smoldering, barely alive. A smoldering wick he shall not quench. But he shall bring forth justice to the earth, and a light to the nation, that it might light up our darkness. Now that is what God is about. He's not complicit with anything bad that happens in our life, and he's not afar off. He sends his servant into the world. And in the first reading, that servant is not named, but then we come to know who it is in the gospel. Jesus was baptized. The skies opened and the Spirit came down. And, after he was baptized, he went and prayed. The skies opened, the Spirit came down, and he heard this voice that says, "You are my beloved Son. On you my favor rests. With you I am very pleased." Now that's an important moment in the life of Jesus. Because up to now in Luke's gospel, he hasn't done anything. But with this, he gains his identity. He knows who he is. I am the Son of God. My Father is pleased with me. And I am to go about and to do what the Father wants me to do. I am to go about and to proclaim good news and to heal the sick and to forgive the sinner and to bring mercy to the people of the world, especially those who struggle or suffer most, whether or not something's happened to them or they brought it upon themselves. I came to bring mercy to the world. That's who Jesus is. It is his identity, to be the light of the world. And what he brings is good news. And in the second reading, it talks about him where he says, God shows no partiality. So for anybody who's thinking, yeah, that might be true for everybody else, but not me. Well, if you believe the scriptures, it says God shows no partiality. He sent Jesus for all of us. And later it says, who went about doing good and healing those who are afflicted. That's what Jesus is about. And anybody who's struggling needs to hear that God is not distant from us or complicit with the bad things, but he's here for us in his Son, in his Word. In fact, he gives us body of and blood of his Son from this altar. Wants to become part of us. That's Jesus, the identity that he received and the mission that he received in his baptism. But we're all baptized, or most of us. And in that baptism, can we hear this same thing? You are my beloved daughter. You are. You are my beloved son. You are. And with you, I am pleased. Try that on. God is pleased with me. How does that settle in? God is pleased with me. He is pleased to love me. It pleases him to love me. It pleases him to heal me and to set me free from the burdens, from the imprisonment that I feel in my life. He is pleased to do that. He is pleased to forgive us of our sin, our wrongdoings, our failures. He is pleased to do that. How does that settle in? Because that's the message of Jesus coming to us. And that's what's to go on inside. In the opening prayer, prayed that we might be transformed inwardly, so that we might become like him who has taken on our outwardly flesh, that we might be transformed inside. To believe that and to make that our identity. Who are you? Well, I'm God's son. I'm God's daughter. He's pleased to love me. If that settles in and takes part of us, then the next part is easier. And the next part is that, like Jesus, we too are sent out to be good news to the poor, to go about doing good, to help to bring some light to the other people's darkness. That's what our baptism does. It sends us out as well, to bring light to those in darkness and healing for those who are hurt. What can we do to heal the hurts of others? To help to save those who are isolated. So to be a presence for those who feel isolated and alone in life. He sends us out to do that. And he sends us out to forgive others. God is pleased to love us, and he's pleased when we take that love and share it with others. So this baptism of the Lord is a good thing, because it reminds us of God's presence and love for us. It reminds us of our own baptism, that he loves us and is pleased with us, pleased to love us, to forgive us, to heal us. And he's pleased to send us out so that others too might experience that message, that love through us.